Hey guys, it's LEGO Boys E3. Today I'm going to show you how to make this Fisher Cube mod. So this Fisher Cube mod here is a very cool mod. It's definitely more difficult to create than what I would consider a beginner mod, but it is a very good mod to learn the basics of extending puzzles. So basically this cube is exactly an octagonal barrel, except you also have to extend the pieces 45 degrees away from where you cut them down to make it back into a cube again. So if you haven't already made an octagonal barrel, I'd recommend at the very least watching my octagonal barrel tutorial, because that basically shows you the first half of this mod and it'll teach you a lot of basic modding skills. And much like that mod too, this mod doesn't really require any power tools. You can pretty much do the whole thing with just hand tools, like just a screwdriver, a saw, even just sandpaper. But I would recommend at least having a belt sander, because it does help a lot with sanding down all the filler that you have to get down on the pieces. So if you've made an octagonal barrel before, you know exactly how to start this mod off. So you mark off the pieces, mark where you want to cut, basically just on the corners of the pieces. You tighten the cube down so that it doesn't turn around while you're trying to cut it. And then you get a saw or even a bandsaw if you have one like this, and just cut the cube down. So you want to cut down at that 45-degree angle as much of that corner as possible without interfering with like the edges next to it. Next up, once the puzzle is kind of in an octagonal barrel shape, you can go ahead and take off all the stickers. And now before we disassemble it, we're actually going to use some sandpaper and actually scratch up the surface of some of these pieces. And so on those four faces that we're going to be extending, we want to make sure that that surface is really rough so that the filler will actually stick to the plastic. And so you can do that with just sandpaper. You can also use a knife and just scratch it up. I did a little bit of that too, but basically you just want to scratch up the surface on those four little bars as much as possible. And now you can take off one of the center caps and unscrew the puzzle. And so now that you've disassembled the puzzle, you might be noticing that some of the caps on some of the pieces might be falling off. So all you have to do is just glue those on with some super glue. Next, you can get out the filler material that you're going to use to fill and extend all of the pieces. So I use epoxy sculpt for this, but you can also use milliput. They both work just fine. So mix up equal parts of that, and then you can just go ahead and start filling the pieces. So the first 12 should be insanely easy. They're exactly like an octagonal barrel. So you should have done that before. You pretty much just put the filler in the hole and you're done. But with the other 12 pieces that you're going to extend, it's a little bit more tricky. So basically what you do is you take that face of the edge that you sanded down and you just press some filler against it, just kind of in a shape like this. So it's kind of at a 90-degree angle, offset by 45 degrees off the surface of the piece. So this is kind of what the final shape of my edges look like, and you can do the exact same thing with the centers. Just take a center cap and put the filler on it and just make it into the exact same shape. And it can be a good idea to overestimate the amount of filler that you'll need, because it's a lot easier later on to just sand down extra filler than to have to add more in. Just remember that filler material is relatively expensive, so try not to waste too much. Anyway, at this point you can let the pieces dry overnight. Now obviously, since you've extended the puzzle past where it's eventually going to be, you cannot currently assemble the puzzle in its current state. And so what you actually have to do is sand down the puzzle as little as possible in order to get it so that the cube can still be assembled. So you can see here on the edge, these kind of three inner surfaces of the piece all need to be sanded down. All that filler needs to be sanded down just right to the surface of the piece. And so as you just saw there, I did that on all of the edges and just made it so that all the internal faces of the pieces were all flat with the plastic. And then you can go ahead and do the same thing with the center caps. Just stick it on a center piece and then just sand it down in the exact same way. And there you go, that's what the finished centerpiece should look like. And now you can go ahead and reassemble the puzzle. All the pieces should fit together just fine. And now that it's assembled, you can go ahead and get out the belt sander and just start to sand down the cube into the final cubic shape. And so you want to start by just getting off all the bulk of the pieces where all those extensions are. So you can see here there's kind of like a big hole in the middle, because I played it safe and way overestimated the amount of filler I'd need. So you can go ahead and just sand all of that down. And this is where the belt sander really comes in handy. You would not want to do this with just normal sandpaper. Now what you can do when it starts to look more like a cube is just kind of turn each of the faces of the cube randomly a little bit. Just kind of turn every single layer around, just kind of scramble it up basically while keeping it in the same shape, and then just sand down those four sides briefly and then repeat. I did that maybe around 10 times and eventually it got it down into a perfect cube shape. So now once you're done with the belt sander, you can go ahead and pop off a center cap and just unscrew the puzzle until it's disassembled like this. So basically you start off with all of those sharp edges of all those modified pieces and just get kind of a rough sandpaper and just sand all of those down and make them all rounded off. And then you can go in with a bit of a finer sandpaper and just sand down each of the edges of each piece just to make sure that they're all really smooth. And you can also do that with all the corners of each piece and all the faces of each piece. Just smooth out everything, make it really round and all smooth. Now you can go ahead and reassemble the cube for the final time. You can adjust the tensions and loosen them however you want at this point, and the cube should be looking and turning pretty well. So now you can grab some glossy black spray paint and just paint down all of those modified pieces black. I like to turn the middle layer 45 degrees like this so you can also get some of those inner parts. And now finally, when it comes to stickers, about half of them you can get from a normal 3x3 sticker set, and about half of them you have to cut from an uncut sticker set. And so what I did for both of the two opposite faces is you just put on all of the centers and all of the corner stickers. And now what you do with all of those corners, because they're sticking off obviously, is you just get a knife and cut off the sticker just like this, and you have a nice custom cut sticker. Now with the other 4 faces, most of the pieces you can just cut out from a normal 3x3 sticker set, so all you have to do is measure the width of that little piece, and then you just cut that out, and then you can just apply the sticker on just like this. Now with all of the other longer pieces on those faces, as well as the longer pieces on the two opposite faces, you're just going to have to get some uncut sticker material, and just cut out the stickers custom by measuring the distances, and just cutting out a little rectangle, rounding off the corners, and just cutting stickers just like you would for any other puzzle. So anyway, here is the finished Fisher Cube all stickered up. So this was actually a lot harder of a mod than I was expecting. All of that extending and all that sanding and all of that modding in general just was a lot harder and took a lot more time than I was kind of expecting. But in the end, it did turn out really well. I really do like how the stickers look. I really do like how the pieces look. It's basically like my first real like high quality 3x3 shape mod other than like a barrel. And yeah, it could probably pass as like a mass produced puzzle. So I really like how it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!